Let's break this mother down. With Shizzywhiznut.
An open letter to the ANTI-WTH morons. You couldn't even quit without screwing it up. Well, I bet you feel stupid. It seems your counterclaims, like your credibility, are being peeled off the docket one sorry layer at a time, and not because you made a strategic decision, but because you don't even know how to leave properly. The court just vacated your dismissals because, according to actual law, something you may want to revisit between online temper tantrums, BBB, the one man who ran his mouth in public while completely misunderstanding the very rules he was trying to weaponize, this was a controlled demolition of your credibility carried out by your own filings, your own live streams, and your own inability to shut the F up and lawyer properly. But no, not you, Bubbles. You decided to file a piecemeal retreat. 2 counterclaims here, 1 later, maybe a limping motion in between, and the kicker? Well, the court granted it until it had to correct itself after independently researching what you clearly didn't. You know how bad you have to screw up for a federal judge to take time out of their day to clean your fuck up without being asked. Let's be clear, this wasn't a close call. It wasn't even a gray area. The 11th Circuit's court Eurobor decision made it crystal. You don't get to selectively dismiss claims like you're ordering a la carte off a menu of incompetence, and you know that if you read the case or knew what Rule 41 actually says, or cared more about legal accuracy than your unhinged rants on live streams, or maybe did your CLEs so you could be up to date on all of these kinds of things. How much should we bet that you're going to go live on the flea tube and explain how you actually won because the judge remembered your name while vacating your order? Maybe calling Judge Bolitho an idiot and Randall Shockett stupid on the Flea's YouTube channel while your ignorant filings were still pending before the very man you insulted. I'm not sure what fantasy realm you think you're litigating in, but in this one, judges read the docket, and sometimes, Bruce, it makes you wonder if they also watch YouTube, especially when the court clerk is laughing at your stupidity. Do you understand what just happened? You tried to pull a disappearing act on your client's counterclaims. You tried to weasel out one by one, and in doing so, you violated binding appellate precedent, forced the court to reverse its own order, and handed your opponents more procedural ammo than they could have hoped for, all while you slithered away from the case altogether like a stone magician failing a vanishing trick while flipping off the judge on your way out. You weren't just wrong, you were aggressively, petulantly, publicly wrong, and now the record reflects it. Not just in the filings, but in court order that vacates your motion like it was an expired Groupon for legal malpractice. I mean, are you the washed-up masshole with a law degree and an ego he found in a Cracker Jack box? You called a federal judge an idiot on live stream while begging for him for favorable rulings, a self-sabotage level that normally is reserved for reality TV contests who get drunk before elimination night. And to think, this is the same clown who files sanction motions accusing others of multiplying proceeding while he's out here multiplying embarrassment. You filed counterclaims and couldn't even dismiss them right. Judge Bolitho had to vacate your motion like it was a fake Groupon for malpractice CLEs. And now that you've run off the case, you look like a wet cat who knocked over the vase is trying to blame the dog. So here's your moment, Bruce. You've gone from attorney of record to a cautionary tale in a matter of months. Your name is now attached to a ruling that literally says, we'd let them dismiss this trash, but Bubbles didn't know how. Even your procedural surrender is being reviewed for malpractice. The next time you're tempted to open your cock washer on a live stream and call anyone else stupid, maybe, just maybe remember this order. It wasn't written to you by name, but we all know who it's about. Oh, you think that I'm done? Well, buckle up, buttercups, because we have the fucktard for BBB, Paint Chips, Lisa, and Fleesa. Well, Congratulations, you've done what few thought possible, formed a legal Voltron so profoundly incompetent that the court had to stop mid-proceeding, wipe the docket, and start over. Not because your arguments were strong, but because your stupidity broke Rule 41, like existentially. Why not start with BBB's spineless exit? He swaggered in as the high priest of legal precision, calling everyone else stupid while he quietly filed a cell phone so bad it forced a judge to reverse his own order just to mop up the residue of your malpractice. He didn't just screw up, he laid a procedural landmine, then tripped over it twice. He told the world Judge Belitho's an idiot, that Shockett's a moron, that only BBB, the little man with the testicular fortitude of a neutered dog, knows the law. And then the court spent 4 pages explaining why he doesn't even understand how to dismiss a counterclaim. You got vacated by precedent so basic. Might as well have been printed on the back of a cereal box. And that's not lawyering, that's flailing in open court and calling it strategy. And now, BB, you're off the case. Resigned, fled, quit before you had to show up and explain why you lit yourself on fire with case law you didn't bother to read. You didn't withdraw with dignity. You evacuated like a shoplifter cornered by mall security. The judge didn't even sanction you yet, and we're all waiting on that until he rules. But hey, dipshit, you're in good company because, hell, you have Paint Shep, America's favorite disgraced felon who thinks that being disbarred makes him qualified to critique bar ethics. You're like Biden took the bar exam after a stroke and heavy metal spill. You shriek like a little jailhouse bitch on every live stream about patriotism and tyranny while hiding from subpoenas like a raccoon in a crawl space. You're not a lawyer. You're an unread Substack in human form. No courtroom in America is asking for your input. You are permanently benched by every state that matters, and you've responded by LARPing as a freedom fighter while gluing your mom's last name to sock puppet accounts on YouTube. No one's afraid of your threats. They're afraid they might catch whatever combination of brain fog and narcissism makes you think you still matter. Then there's Legally Lips, or should I say permanently retired, not as a choice, but as the closest thing to a mercy killing the Florida bar offers. And yet, here you are signing lawsuits like your license is just on vacation. You're just too stupid to admit it's not. Need court approval to practice law in Florida now, and the only thing you're practicing is revenge fantasy through a busted brain. You claimed you were out, you said you were walking away, and then you came sprinting back with a lawsuit so incoherent it looks like it was drafted during a blood moon with crayons. You signed a state complaint under your husband's name like a legal Cinderella breaking curfew on a bar sanction. You're not a lawyer anymore, Lips. You're a pro se hallucination, dragging a proof case full of delusion into courtrooms that never invited you back because you are so irrelevant they probably don't even remember your name. And finally, the turd in the septic tank Sunday. You have the head flea. You can't read. I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that as a matter of documented video archived reality. You misread court documents with the legal knowledge of a vegetable on life support that you screen share live to your own audience. You don't get filings wrong because you're rushed. You get them wrong because you don't understand how language works, especially when it's formatted in legal English. If it had more than 4 letters and doesn't end up followed by a smoker hacking up a lung. You say things like Jeremy filed against himself with a straight face. You confuse motion responses with counterclaims, counterclaims with court orders, and court orders with witchcraft. You're not a commenter. You're an active brain fart of comprehension. Together, the 4 of you have managed to reduce the legal process, a centuries-old institution of rules, structure, and dignity, into a live-stream game of Mad Libs where none of you know the difference between plaintiff and a Pokemon type. You aren't rebels. You aren't silenced truth tellers. You're cautionary exhibit in the museum of what happens when narcissism finds a pacer access. Your filings don't defend liberty, they defend your fragile egos, one typo riddle tantrum at a time. And you keep calling the rest of us stupid while you get reversed, reprimanded, quietly pushed out of relevance because you look like misbehaving children being handed back to their parents after a disastrous sleepover in an opium den. And through it all, I'm still here, not because I'm better, not because I'm special needs, but because even I know how to read a fucking rule book. The Velcro shoes are strapped tight. Shizzywhiznut, Your friendly neighborhood moron currently still beating you at your own game with nothing but coffee, sarcasm, and basic reading comprehension. And most definitely, your motherfucking daddy.